Hello and welcome to Tea is Good, Books Are Better, the podcast where we drink tea and talk about books. My name's Raven.
I'm Jess.
I think we forgot to introduce ourselves in the last episode.
I think you were like, Jessica, and I was like, Raven?
I see.
So kind of?
Okay, we kind of did it, but I totally spaced. But it worked out, if that's what happened.
I thought we were introducing each other, so that's why I went on.
Oh, I see. Do you ever get people asking you about the podcast?
Sometimes.
How does that happen?
Usually at work, co-workers will be like, I heard you got a podcast. Oh, do you talk shit about us? I'll just say yeah, especially you.
Ooh, that's how you get them to listen. Nice. Yeah, I get a lot of people asking me about it, and I feel like I'm so awkward.
It is pretty hard to describe. I think I managed to lock it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm always like, I never know what to say. They're like, oh, so tell me about your podcast, and I'm like,
I was like that too, but now I'll say like, it's like a book club. We read a couple chapters of a certain book. Well, we choose a book to read, and then we read some chapters, and then on the podcast, each episode, we will discuss those episodes. Chapters. But we will summarize and then discuss the chapters. That's it. That's basically what we do, right?
Yeah. I think I feel weird about, like, recommending it to people.
Right.
Because I don't...
Support me.
Yeah, like, here, listen to me talk. And also, I feel like the content is maybe a little niche. So
we're still newbies. What do you mean niche?
I mean, like, not everyone will like it. It's for specific people, like people who like reading.
If you like books.
Yeah. But everyone likes Game of Thrones, right? So yeah, I guess that's where it gets awkward for me. Where like I never know whether to say to people like, oh yeah, I have a podcast, you should give it a listen.
And yeah,
like that feels weird. But also like, yeah, I want people to listen,
right?
You
like,
know,
I tried to like with some coworkers I'm close to, I'm like, listen to it, and they'll be like
this slow nodding, but not
the smile, but like, they're just being polite, but they don't want to say no to my face.
Yeah. Yeah, that's already happened a lot where people are like, oh, you have a podcast, that's so cool, I'm gonna download it and listen to it, and then I like look at our numbers and I'm like, you're not listening. Like, it's fine if you don't, but also don't tell me you're going to if you're not going to.
Be like, right, bro.
I have a friend who the podcast came up in conversation, and this friend was very clearly like, not really the type of thing that I'm into, and I was like, okay, like, I respect that. Like, she did not lie to me. She didn't say she was going to listen to it. She was like, not my thing. And I was like, sweet.
Legit.
Yeah, that is great. Like, thank you. Thanks for not lying to me. So, we've had other people lie to us.
Pet peeve is liars.
Yeah. Like, I just be honest. I'll appreciate it more because I can see our numbers and I can see if you're listening. Yeah, so that's that. So, just a little promo thing. We watched The Joker, and
not together,
separately. So we want to discuss it, but our friend Baram, who I watched Joker with, he wants to join us on the podcast and discuss it with us. God. And he's the guy who made our jingle, so you should all know his work.
Really, really exciting.
Yeah, so we're gonna have him on as a guest to discuss The Joker with us, the movie. I'm not sure when that'll be, but...
Did you just see it with him?
Yeah, just...
No, Anne?
It's not Anne's thing. He doesn't like violence.
Cool.
So yeah, we're going to have Bowram on as a guest, and he'll be our very first guest on the podcast. And we'll have Johnny join us as well, because he also wanted to talk about it. And Johnny is Jessica's man.
That's my man.
So we're going to have them joining us, hopefully sometime within the next few episodes.
Sure.
Anyway, that's that. Shall we just get into it today? Or is there anything you wanted to add or bring up?
Nah, son.
Nah, son. Alright, what are we drinking today, Jess?
It's rooibos tea.
Fake tea!
With clover honey. Is it sweet enough for you? Nice.
There's a cat hair!
Bonnie, what are you doing in my sister's tea?
Oh, fuck. Same problem as last time. I went to dip my finger in it to get the cat hair out and I burned my finger. And now I'm just gonna drink the cat hair.
Build your immune system.
That clover honey gives me life.
Nice. I don't like it.
What? Did you put it in mine and not yours?
No, it's in both. I just want to use it up and get rid of it.
Okay.
I don't waste my shit.
Well, I really like it, so if you want to just put it in mine, that's cool. Okay, where did we leave off our characters, Jess?
Okay, Tyrion saves Cat and has made her doubt her accusations. Arya overhears a plot of murder. Ned hands in his badge and prepares to leave when Littlefinger offers to take him to the brothel Jory had been investigating with quotations because he's probably just banging hookers in there.
Jory?
Yeah.
Oh my god, Jory. Okay. Sweet.
Oh shit, I'm starting.
Chapter 34.
Chapter Catelyn. The clansmen had followed them through the mountains, and they ended up losing 6 men on their journey.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of men.
Holy shit. Let me look at what the distance is that they traveled. Oh, it's a very windy road.
Yeah, and it's like through these mountains, and
yeah, it's not
there's
a long
clansmen
road,
stopping them, I'm guessing, every few steps. Yeah, it looks pretty small compared to this picture here. But I'm assuming that like the thin, winding road between the mountains is treacherous.
It does seem like it.
The fingers are pretty close to the Eyrie.
That's how they kind of grew up together. Littlefinger and Cat, right?
But they were in River Run.
Oh shit, they
Not the
were,
Eyrie.
weren't they?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, of course. Why am I assuming she came from the Eyrie? She did not come from the Eyrie.
Okay. So they had lost 6 men on their journey by the time House Aaron's banner riders came to them to escort them to the Eyrie. They escort Cat and her crew, and when they reach the Bloody Gate, a knight in River Run armor with a blackfish pin in his shoulder rides out to greet them. Cat and her uncle Brynden Tully, the blackfish, reunite. He allows them into the Vale.
Cool.
Cool beans.
Her uncle that she hasn't seen in like however many years. How many years?
Was he at Lysa's wedding?
I assume so.
5 years.
5 years.
He allows them into the Vale. Sir Roderick confesses that he can go no further, almost sagging off of his horse.
Wait. Roderick Cassell?
Yeah.
Is he related to Jory?
Oh my god! They probably are.
How the fuck did we not notice this
Bruh,
until now?
We just, oh my gosh.
Jory is Cassell!
Roderick is Cassell! Man, is it like father and son?
Oh my god.
Dude. I need to know more. Sir Roderick confesses he can go no further, almost sagging off of his horse. Cat says she'll be safe with her uncle, and they will take the Lannister to Lysa while Sir Roderick and the rest of their men rest. Marillion and Bronn, however, volunteer to come along with Cat as well. Cat doesn't like the friendship that has blossomed between Bronn and the dwarf, but she knows they wouldn't have made it to the Vale without him, so she allows it.
Him being Bronn.
Bronn, the badass fighter.
He's a badass, yeah.
Cat rides alongside her uncle, and she tells him everything, starting from the dagger and the attempt on Bran's life. Her uncle listens silently, and Cat reflects on how he's always been a good listener. After she finishes her tale, he tells her that they must inform her father immediately, since Riverrun is right in the path the Lannisters would take. They're Wardens of the West, right?
Who?
So, the Lannisters, Wardens of the West. Yeah, Casterly Rock.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
they go right past
go straight
Riverrun.
through Riverrun.
Yep. Cat agrees and says that she will send a raven when they arrive. Brynden informs her that Lysa that came back from King's Landing is not the same Lysa she once knew. She is afraid, and she fears the Lannisters the most. He looks behind them at Tyrion and asks where his chains are. Cat assures him, chains or no, he is her prisoner. The Blackfish says he hopes she is right about her accusations, and she too hopes she is right, because if 6 of her people died for nothing on their journey, what would that make her?
What would that make her?
Fucking dumbass. Bit too brash. Should have let Tyrion go. By the time they reach the castle's drawbridge, it's full dark. Her uncle tells her to look up, and she looks up, and sees well above them the glow of distant fires on a tower keep built upon the steep side of the mountain. And above that, another higher and even more distant. And above that, an even higher, third and barely visible tower. And even higher, a flash of white. That's the Eyrie.
A tiny little thing at the top of this.
Yeah, like, it's just mind-boggling imagining how high up it is.
Yeah.
Bruh. Tyrion exclaims that there's no way they can climb the mountain in the dark. And Brynden says that they will camp there and make the ascent on the morrow. Tyrion asks how they will climb, and Cat says that there are steps carved into the mountain. And Brynden says that they will have to ride mules since the path is too steep and narrow for horses. Brynden asks if Tyrion would prefer to ride the basket the Eyrie uses to draw supplies. And Tyrion is like, he would like to, but we Lannisters have a certain pride, so he must ascend with everyone else.
I'd ride up in the basket.
Right? So long, suckers.
Yeah. Peace. See you at the top.
Cat says pride, more like arrogance, avarice, and a lust for power.
Doesn't avarice just mean pride?
I had to Google avarice, and it's like basically like an overwhelming lust for money, and power, and
greed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's one of the 7 deadly sins, so I thought it'd be pride, but it's greed.
Yeah. Tyrion says Jaime is certainly arrogant. His father is the soul of avarice. Avarice. And Cersei lusts for power, but he is as innocent as a little lamb. The drawbridge comes down and they cross. Waiting for them, surrounded by his knights, is Lord Nestor Royce, High Steward of the Vale and Keeper of the Gates of the Moon.
I know that name. Royce.
I don't remember it.
He's the knight who went missing at the very start of the book, right? Something Royce?
Is that John Arryn's houseboy? Because that was the kid who was killed at the tourney. Eh? By the mountain?
No. He wasn't a Royce. Was he?
Was he?
No.
No.
He wasn't a Royce. Sir Waymar Royce. From the beginning. He's a black brother from the Night's Watch.
Oh!
He gets killed by the White Walkers.
Oh my gosh! More relatives? What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, the Lord thing?
Yes!
Shit! Oh my god, I love finding all these family members.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, you're related to you! And you're related to you! I'm proud of myself for
Damn, son, because I forgot that, bro.
Yeah, the names.
Nice, good job.
Thanks.
He bows to Cat and says, Lady Lysa wishes to see her at once. The rest of the party will be housed and sent up at the first fight. Her uncle is furious. A night ascent is an invitation to a broken neck. A young girl around 17 or 18 named Mia Stone.
I think it's Maya.
Oh god.
Meow.
I was like, meow is in the sound my cat makes?
Meow.
Maya Stone assures Brynden that the mules know their way and she's made the dark climb 100 times. Cat immediately feels a coldness in her because Stone is a bastard's name and reminds her of Jon.
So at this point, I was like, is Maya Stone Robert's first daughter?
Oh shit!
His first child. She's the right age. She's a bastard.
Dark hair? Did she describe it?
She's in the right area. In the Vale.
And she's like hanging out with the lords and shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was like, she has to be.
Oh my god. Cool. I didn't even make that connection. Yeah. So many connections in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
She forces herself to say, I put myself in your hands, to Maya. Cat follows the bastard girl to the 2 mules saddled up and ready. Cat asks if they will light a torch, but Maya says a torch will only blind them and that the moon and stars are enough.
Alright.
Okie dokie, whatever you say.
Sippy sippy.
Ah,
Lubricate the throat.
nice. It's a good tea.
It is a good tea. Fake tea, but good tea.
The ascent is easier than Cat had hoped, and she dozes off for a moment, and suddenly they are in front of a massive iron-bound gate. It swings open, and they are fed skewers of charred meat and onions, and given new mules, and they start the second part of their ascent. The trail seems more treacherous. It's steeper, and the steps are more worn. Maya has to constantly dismount to remove fallen rocks on their path. Cat is beginning to feel the altitude. I guess lack of oxygen? Cold? Windy?
Yeah. All of that? Air pressure? I don't know, is that a thing?
I think so. I don't know.
Popping ears?
Oh, ew. That's the worst part went up.
Yeah.
They reach a fortified tower and are given new mules, and they continue. So this is the 3rd new mules.
Wow.
The wind is alive and the steps are cracked and broken from centuries of freeze and thaw. They come to a really thin path, 20 feet long and 3 feet wide, with dangerously steep drop on either side. They have to dismount and lead the mules over. I keep wanting to say meow. Maya warns her that the wind can be scary crossing. So they're crossing a stone bridge now.
Mm-hmm. And
On foot.
It's supposed to be really narrow.
Yeah, 3 feet wide. That's not very wide.
That's not wide at all. Especially if there's a steep drop on either side. That's
And
freaky.
the wind is howling and you're way high up.
Fuck that.
That's terrifying.
Ew.
Maya starts crossing and Cat takes one step and freezes. She could feel the emptiness around her and she can no longer move. Also, it's pitch black. It's nighttime.
Oh yeah, that too. Holy shit.
Maya calls to her and Cat says she cannot do it. Maya comes back to her, tells her to close her eyes, and she will lead her. When they make it across, they can see the Way Castle in front of them, covered in frost with long spears of ice hanging from the slopes. Dawn breaks as the gates open before them. Inside, they dismount, and Maya says they have to travel through the mountain for another hour, and they will reach the castle.
Jesus fuck. So far.
All night, they've been traveling up this mountain.
Oh my god.
Looking up, Cat can see the foundations of the Eyrie, some 600 feet above them. From her position, it looks like a small white honeycomb. I could not imagine that. Like, what? Like, is it like a like, what's that shape?
Like a
Pentagon? Is that what they mean by honeycomb?
Are honeycombs pentagons or are they octagons?
I don't know. I think it's pentagon, because that's like the strongest structure to hold a lot of weight.
I don't know.
But when it says honeycomb, I was like, just the shape, the one, or like...
Or do they mean like a beehive?
Yeah, like I was
Like
confused.
oval?
Cat says to Maya after riding all day and night that she would be more than happy to ride up the basket with the turnips. And so she does. By the time she reached the Eyrie, the sun is well above the mountains. So I'm like, did this take about 12 hours?
Literally all night.
And like the sun is above the mountain, so that's like pretty close to noon. Was this a 12-hour trip?
Holy fuck.
Up the mountain? Like, I can't even imagine. She hasn't slept.
Fuck that.
Sir Vardis Egan. What?
I'm sorry? Huh?
It's not exactly spelled like her name, but that's Egan.
That didn't even click for me. I gotta find this. Wow. I feel like maybe I skip over some of the names or something.
Right? I try to keep them just because of the fun tidbits of finding relatives.
Yeah. Oh shit, Sir Vardis Egan. Wow. A relative.
Nice. Hey, we're in Game of Thrones. Captain of Jon Arryn's household guard helped her from the basket. He informs her that he had sent word to her sister, who had left orders to be awakened the instant she arrived. I hope she had a good night's rest, Kat said, irritated. The men escort her up a spiral stair. The Eyrie is considered a small castle. It has 7 slender white towers bunched together tightly. It has no stables or smithies nor kennels. But it has a granary as large as Winterfell's.
Oh, what's a granary?
I think it's where they house the food.
Make wheat.
Wheat. I think it's where they house food.
Wheat for the breads.
Keep, like, food storage.
Okay.
The castle seemed deserted as she passed through its pale stone halls.
Curious.
Lysa is waiting in her room, still wearing her bedrobes. She jumps up when Kat enters and runs to give her a hug, saying it's been so long. Kat notices the 5 years in King's Landing had taken its toll on Lysa. She is 2 years younger than Kat, but now she looks older. She's put on weight and her skin is pale. Lysa tells her men to leave, and as soon as they're gone, she drops the act. Lysa is furious, snapping at Kat that she had lost her senses, bringing a Lannister into her home, and she wants no part in Kat's quarrels.
Damn.
Kat is shocked. It was Lysa who first sent the letter, but Lysa insists it was a warning, not a call to arms.
Alright, Lysa. Maybe you should have fucking clarified.
A small voice interrupts them. Mother? Lysa spins around, revealing Robert Arryn, Lord of the Eyrie, standing in the doorway clutching a doll. I heard voices, he says. Kat sees that he is very thin and small for his age. From time to time he trembles. The Meisters call it the shaking sickness. Lysa sits and calls him to her arms. Isn't he beautiful, she says. And strong too. Jon thought so too. He said the seed is strong to me on his deathbed. He wanted everyone to know how strong his baby is. Kat tries to discuss how it may come to war, but Lysa won't hear it, not in front of the child. She then pulls out a heavy breast and the boy starts sucking. Kat is at a loss for words. She thinks of her youngest, Rickon, half Robert's age, but 5 times as fierce.
Just a reminder, this boy, Robert, is 6.
6 years old.
And he's still breastfeeding.
She understands why everyone has shown concern for her sister's sanity. Lysa tells her that they are safe. The Eyrie is impregnable. She asks Kat what she's going to do with the imp, to which Robert unclasps her breast and asks if he's a bad man and if they're going to make him fly. Perhaps we will, Lysa replies.
So when I was reading this chapter, the climb up the mountain goes on for so long. Multiple pages. As I was reading it, I was like,
it's basically the whole chapter.
Is this so long?
I think it's just to describe the scope of the Eyrie.
I think you're right. At first I was like, he really could have trimmed this down a bit.
Yeah.
But when it gets to the part where Lysa is like, the Eyrie is impregnable, I was like, this is why. He's showing how fucking hard it is to get up there.
Imagine getting an army up there.
Yeah.
No.
So he's showing how hard it is.
Yeah.
To really establish how impregnable the Eyrie is.
I didn't mention this, but a lot of these gates that she stopped at to get new mules, there's lots of boulders hanging around, and that's to push down to wipe out anyone who's climbing.
Damn. Yeah, this place seems pretty
impregnable.
Fortified. Cool.
Another Eddard.
Fucking hell.
Right? You know what I think about Eddard's chapters is that even though they're fucking boring, that's why most of the shit goes down. Like, a lot of the
It's kind of
important
It's
shit.
definitely the main plot at this point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say his and Daenerys' chapters are the main plots.
Yeah.
But yeah, another Eddard. He's actually become every other chapter.
Yeah. His story is getting important.
Yep.
What's going on in King's Landing?
Alright, chapter 35, Eddard.
Eddard.
Ned has just finished his business in the whorehouse that Littlefinger showed him to. That sounds like sexy business, so that's not what I meant. Yeah, remember this was one of the clues towards what caused Jon Arryn's death that he is investigating. So Ned says it's time to leave and he gathers his men. Littlefinger says goodbye to a black woman he had been speaking to and then joins Ned. Outside the brothel, they get on their horses and start heading back to the castle. Littlefinger prattles on about how brothels are a better investment than ships, since whores seldom sink, and when they are boarded by pirates, the pirates pay good coin like everyone else. Ned just ignores him until he stops talking. Ned thinks about a conversation he had with Lyanna once. When she had first been promised to Robert, she had known he wouldn't be able to keep to one bed. She knew he already had a child in the Vale. Maya! Ned couldn't lie to her, so he just told her that Robert was a good man and would love her with all his heart. But still fuck other women?
Pretty sure he would have. He's a whore.
Yeah, but I mean, is he still a good man?
Maybe
And loving her with all his heart if he's fucking around?
If Ned thought so.
Yeah.
So, that's the word. Man, I was thinking saw. Ned thought so. Like,
It's just, I'm not saying it's one way or the other. I'm just saying it's debatable.
yeah.
Lyanna had just said that love is sweet, but it cannot change a man's nature. I really like Lyanna, and I barely know anything about her. All we know about her is from Ned's perspective, but even from the tiny amount that we get, she seems really smart and, like, realistic and down to earth.
I hope we get more of her from Bran.
Or Ned.
Okay.
But yeah, I would love to get more of her from Bran's perspective. How could we possibly get Lyanna from Bran's perspective, you ask?
You'll see.
You shall see. Yeah, so she seems super smart and realistic, like the opposite of Sansa.
Yeah.
Anyway, because Sansa lives in the clouds.
Yeah, she does.
When Ned met the girl he came to the brothel to see, he saw that she was very young. So young he didn't feel comfortable asking her age.
Oh.
Ew. Age guess?
13?
Ew. Her daughter, Robert's newest bastard, has the same dark, fine hair that Robert's firstborn had had. The girl asks Ned to tell Robert about his new daughter, about how beautiful she is and how much she looks like him. And Ned promises he will. And that is Ned's curse. Robert swears undying love and forgets it an hour later, but Ned Stark keeps his vows. He thinks of the promises he made to Lyanna as she lay dying, and the price he'd paid to keep them. Ooh! What promises? The whore then tells Ned that she's been with no one else, and waits for Robert. He was always good to her. Ned's mind lingers on the words, good to you. He clearly doesn't think betting a girl and leaving her alone in a whorehouse with your baby, never to be seen again, is being good to her.
True that.
As he rides, Ned thinks that if the gods frown on bastards, why do they fill men with such lusts? Ned then asks Littlefinger what he knows of Robert's bastards. Littlefinger says Robert has more than Ned, for a start. No kidding. He says that there's a boy Robert's acknowledged at Storm's End, the one he fathered on his brother Stannis' wedding night.
Damn.
And Littlefinger has also heard rumors that he fathered twins from a serving wench at Casterly Rock. And Cersei had the babes killed and sold the mother to a passing slaver. Not fact, it's rumors. But
what the fuck?
yeah, Ned thinks that he would believe that of Cersei. But would Robert stand by and let that happen? Ned thinks the Robert he had known wouldn't have, but he also didn't know Robert to be so practiced at shutting his eyes to things he didn't wish to see. I guess he's thinking about what happened with Lady and the plan to murder Daenerys and her unborn child. Ned asks Littlefinger why Jon Arryn took a sudden interest in the king's base-born children. Littlefinger suggests Robert wanted to see them provided for, but Ned thinks it has to be more than that, or why kill Jon Arryn for it? Littlefinger's reply is sarcastic. He says, "Oh yes, Lord Arryn learned that his grace boned some bitches, and for that he had to be silenced." Small wonder. Next he'll say the sun rises in the east. I'm noticing a lot of the use of the term small wonder recently.
Oh yeah?
In the last few chapters. Yeah, from multiple characters' perspectives, and now in dialogue. And I'm thinking, as George was writing, like, he must have come across this phrase, and he's like, I like this. He's,
Maybe
like,
it's a phrase he uses himself.
He probably does. Small wonder.
Small.
Ned thinks about Rhaegar Targaryen for the first time in years suddenly. This isn't the first time in years that he's thought about him. He thought about him in his last chapter.
Yeah! He's been thinking about Rhaegar for a while now.
Yeah, what the fuck, Ned?
Are you confused?
Are you confused? He wonders if Rhaegar frequented brothels. Somehow, he thinks not. Why think of Rhaegar Targaryen in a time like this, Ned?
Oh.
As they continue to ride towards the castle, Jory suddenly calls out an alarm, and, in an instant, the street fills with soldiers wearing golden lions on their armor. There are at least 10 of them, probably more. Jaime Lannister on a horse moves forward and tells Ned that he's looking for his brother. It would seem he met some trouble on the road, and he asks Ned who he thinks might wish his brother ill. Ned says that Tyrion has been taken on his command to answer for his crimes. So Ned's just trying to protect Catelyn's dumb ass right now, right?
Yep.
Because he never made such an order.
No.
Fuck. Jaime draws his sword and tells Littlefinger to leave. Littlefinger doesn't need telling twice. He tells Ned he'll bring the city watch, and then he hightails it out of there. Ned's men draw their swords, but they are 3 against 20. So now there's 20 of them and not 10.
What?
Because earlier it said there's at least 10 of these soldiers.
I guess they keep coming.
I guess so.
Well, at least 10 can technically be 20.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just say around 20? Say, well, if there's 20 of them, you could say at least 1. That doesn't give us a good idea of how many there are. Ned tells Jaime that if he kills him, Catelyn will certainly slay Tyrion. Jaime is sarcastic at first, but isn't willing to chance it, so he puts his sword away. Jaime says he'll let Ned run back to Robert, and he'll see that no harm comes to him. However, he doesn't want to leave Ned entirely unpunished, so he orders the Lannisters to kill Ned's men. Ned screams as Jaime rides away. Ned's men, Will, spelt W-Y-L, and Jory, and Ned himself put up a decent fight. They take down a few Lannisters, but Will's horse gets slashed and he gets dragged off. Ned's horse slips from under him, they crash down to the ground, and Ned's legs are pinned. And he has to watch as Jory's mount also gets slashed, and he too gets dragged off. And the swords rising and falling over him.
I remember that Jory was pretty close to getting out, but he turned back for Ned.
Yeah. Ned's horse gets up. Ned tries to stand, but he can't. There's a splintered bone sticking out of his leg. And he passes out. When he wakes up, he is alone with his dead. Ned drags himself across the ground. Later, Littlefinger and the city watch find him there in the street, cradling Jory Castle's body in his arms. No, Jory!
No, Jory!
I love Jory.
I noticed a difference in the episode that
Oh yeah.
he's stabbed by a spear in his leg compared to being crushed from a horse.
Yeah. In the show, Jaime actually battles Ned himself.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty brilliant battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we actually get to see Jaime's expertise, and Ned, like, puts up a pretty good defense and shows, you know, why he's Lord as well, right? And his experience. And yeah, Ned's leg injury comes from one of the Lannister guards.
Mm.
Who, like, stabs him from behind, and it's super scummy.
Even Jaime thought it was scummy.
Yeah, because he goes and punches that guard in the face or some shit.
Like, fuck, now I can't kill him?
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah, because he's like, now it's not fair. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Jaime riding off in the book. Makes him look like a bit of a bitch.
Well, he gave the orders.
Yeah, and then, like, doesn't even stick around.
Yeah, he doesn't want to see it.
Right? What a bitch. So Ned is carried back to the castle, drifting in and out of consciousness. Then Grand Maester Pycelle is looming over him, giving him milk of the poppy for his pain, and ordering fresh silks for his leg, and that's the last Ned knew. Really makes it sound like Ned dies here, by saying that's the last he knew. Don't worry, he's not dead. Spoilers. Wow, actually, that's like... It's a big turn of events for Ned.
Yeah.
He was feeling so hopeful.
Yeah, now it's
Robert.
like, uh-oh.
Now it's like, fuck you, you're crippled.
And dude, he was so close to getting out of King's Landing. Like, so close. Now he's fucking trapped.
Ugh. Yep.
It's where things start going downhill for the Starks.
Oh, yeah. And the shit has not even fully hit the fan
No.
yet. The shit has not even hit the fan yet. Just
Nope.
you wait. Alright. Chapter 36 is Daenerys.
Yes.
Finally!
Yes, girl. Yes, queen.
Yes, queen. Yes, Khaleesi. I've been thinking that it's been a long ass time since we've had a Dany chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, Dany. Alright, let's get into it. Dany and the Khalasar reach the horse gate of Vaes Dothrak, which is made of 2 gigantic bronze stallions rearing over the roadway.
Do you remember it from the first season?
I do.
It's fucking small.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like a tiny little gate and you're like, this is sad.
Oh, hang on.
But in season 6, it's exactly how it's described in the book, as giants.
Wait, what?
Yep.
Oh, I see. This is the small one.
Yeah.
And then in this one, it's like actually enormous.
Like, yeah, I remember like thinking it was pretty
there
small.
we go.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you can see them going through, but in season 6, it's huge. And I remember seeing that in season 6 being like, this is not what I remember.
Yeah, so how do I describe this? In season 1, I'd say these are about 15 feet high?
Sure, but the size of a building?
Oh, that's more than 15 feet. Maybe like,
20 feet?
maybe I'm thinking 15 meters.
Okay. Meters are a whole different...
Yeah, 15 meters maybe. But then in season 6,
like, that's
these are like
huge. That reminds me of Lord of the Rings.
These are like 200 meters.
When they first leave the
Yes, and it's like the giant
open
statues
waters.
of the...
Yeah, and they see those... It's
That's
filled with the ring.
immediately what I thought of too.
Yeah. It's like, it's huge.
Yeah, enormous. Wow.
It's pretty funny.
I guess they had the budget for it in season 6. And they're like, let's bump these bitches up a bit. Dany looks for the city beyond the gate, but sees nothing but a distant purple mountain. She also doesn't understand why the city, if it's there somewhere, needs a gate, since there are no walls. Khal Drogo leads the Khalasar through the gate. Dany follows, escorted by Jorah and Viserys, who is mounted once again. After he had been left to walk last time, the Dothraki had called him Khal Rhaemar, which means the Sorefoot King. The next day, Khal Drogo offered Viserys a place in a cart, and Viserys had accepted. But he didn't know he was being mocked again. The carts are for eunuchs, cripples, women in labor, etc. So the Dothraki started calling him Khal Rhaegat, which means the Cart King. Viserys had thought it was the Khal's way of apologizing, and Dany had let him believe it. And it had taken much pleading to convince Drogo to allow Viserys to rejoin them at the head of the column. But why, Dany? Damn it. Just let him ride at the back until he drops dead, honestly. Beyond the horse gate, the road is lined with what seems like statues? The forgotten deities of dead cities. Kings, maidens, monsters. Some are so terrible looking that Dany can't look at them, and Jorah says they likely came from the Shadowlands beyond Ashai.
Shit. That's cool.
So this is the second reference we get to this place, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first one again?
I don't remember.
Me neither. Dang it.
Like, it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. Is that where the ghost grass is?
Mm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That could be it. Viserys thinks the statues are trash. He makes sure to speak in the common tongue, though, which few Dothraki can understand.
Guess he's a little bitch.
Oh, yeah. Viserys goes on to call the Dothraki savages and says he'd have no use for them if they weren't so good at killing. Dany says they are her people now, and Viserys shouldn't call them savages. Viserys says the dragon speaks as he likes. But he's still speaking the common tongue like a pussy.
Yep.
Viserys asks how long it will take before he gets his army. Jorah explains that Dany needs to be presented to the Dosh Khaleen, and there's a ceremony that must take place. But Viserys is impatient, of course. He's sick of eating horse meat, and he's sick of the stink of these savages. Dany notices he's still wearing his filthy silks, and that they're stained and rotted from sweat. So Dany doesn't explicitly think this, but the stink is definitely coming from Viserys himself. He's like, these people stink! Because he's fucking nasty and refuses to change. Jorah says there's a western market here at Vaes Dothrak that will have food more to Viserys' taste, and that the Khal will honor his promise in his own time. Viserys says he better. He was promised a crown and he means to have it. The dragon is not mocked. Then he rides off to look at a statue of a six-breasted woman.
With a ferret head?
With a ferret head. Dany hopes her son in stars, new nickname for Drogo, I guess, like a pet name, will not keep Viserys waiting long. Jorah explains that the Dothraki look on these things differently than they do in the West. They do not trade. Viserys thinks he sold Dany and he wants his payment, but Khal Drogo would say Dany was a gift. He will give Viserys a gift in return, but in his own time. Interesting. Different cultural differences. Dany says it isn't right to make Viserys wait. She doesn't know why she's defending Viserys, but she is. This is an interesting character moment.
Yep.
Why do you think she's defending Viserys?
It's her brother, and she's been with him her whole life, so I'm sure she has a sort of love for him. Kind of devotion.
Yeah. Like I'm sure in that moment in the grass, when she, like, sent him to walk at the back, she, like, was angry at him.
Yeah.
And hurt, and so on and so on.
But I'm pretty sure she felt remorse, probably, shortly after, because of just...
Yeah.
How she's being conditioned, I guess.
Yeah. So now she's probably, like, she's not as mad anymore, and she's like...
Yeah. I feel like she wants to make up.
Yeah. But also part of me thinks that maybe it's because she could be getting impatient and wants to take the Seven Kingdoms back.
I don't think that's really in her yet.
I don't know.
Okay.
Viserys apparently says that he could sweep the Seven Kingdoms with 10,000 Dothraki screamers.
Uh-huh.
What are the screamers? Is that different from a regular warrior?
Or no, is that just Dothraki. Because
that's what they call them?
When they travel in hordes to take the cities, they're known for being heard from their screaming first.
A little spooky.
It is spooky.
Jorah says Viserys couldn't sweep a stable with that many brooms. What a savage. Then Dany says, what if it wasn't Viserys? What if it was someone else? Could the Dothraki conquer the Seven Kingdoms then? See, that kind of thing that makes me think that she's thinking about it. You know? Jorah says that the Dothraki are better riders than any knight, utterly fearless, and their bows outrange those in Westeros. In the Seven Kingdoms, most archers are on foot, but the Dothraki fire from horseback, and there's just so many of them. 40,000 warriors alone in Khal Drogo's Khalasar.
And they're all on horses.
They're all on horses. Rhaegar brought the same amount of warriors, or soldiers, whatever, to the Trident when he was defending the throne. But no more than a tenth of them were knights. The rest were archers, free riders, and foot soldiers, armed with spears and pikes. When Rhaegar fell, many of them dropped their weapons and fled. But how long would such a rabble stand against the charge of 40,000 screamers howling for blood?
I feel like it reminds me a lot of Genghis Khan and his army. They were all on horses, and that really helped them take out armies from other places. Hold fast.
Hold fast.
Because they were on foot, and only like the lords, and like not the lords.
Yeah.
The boss guys were on horses.
The boss guys. Nice.
It does remind me a lot of Genghis Khan's soldiers, or whatever you call them.
It definitely shows how your chances go up when you're on horseback.
Yeah.
But Jorah goes on, saying that if the lords of the Seven Kingdoms were smart, they would not meet the Dothraki out on the field. They would stay in their castles, because the Dothraki have no taste for siegecraft. Yeah, they would not even know how to begin trying to conquer a castle.
No.
However, Robert Baratheon, the usurper, is rash enough to meet a Dothraki horde in the open field. But he's also surrounded by men who would advise him otherwise. Stannis, Lord Tywin Lannister, Eddard Stark. Dany notices the way Jorah spits Ned's name.
Right, we always
Fuck.
say Ed.
And Jorah tells her that Stark took everything Jorah loved from him, for the sake of a few poachers and his precious honor. It's clear to Dany that the loss still pains Jorah to this day. Yeah, and that's why he's double-crossing you, Dany. How do you feel about Jorah at this point?
This guy was a slaver in Westeros.
Yeah.
He ran away from his punishment to the Free Cities. And he wants back into Westeros. So he's conniving with Varys? Is that the right word, conniving? You didn't say anything, so...
No, conniving means more like you're trying to use it as an action word, as a verb, but it is a adjective.
Okay. Well, he is plotting with Varys to murder Daenerys so he can come back to Westeros.
Yeah.
Like, I can see it from his point of view, that what he just wants to get back to Westeros. And I know what he chooses to do at the end. I think he's a good guy.
Jorah's an interesting character. Like, at this point, I want to like him, but he's done some scummy things.
Yep.
But he seems honorable. But he's also double-crossing Dany. But he also, like, really treats her well and seems genuine in their conversations.
Yeah. That's probably why he failed. What he was trying to do.
Oh,
it's like, it's like if you have a pet, not a pet, like if you get an animal that you plan to eat, you don't name them to form the attachment, and he's forming the attachment with her by engaging.
Right, yeah. He's definitely a good example of a complex, well-rounded character.
Yeah.
Like, he's not undeniably good or bad. He has tendencies both ways. Like a real-ass person. Like, it's great.
He has his own desires, and he's trying to work towards them.
Yeah, but there's
change
problems and conflicts, and he has to deal with that.
Yep.
And he's a very well-written character, and George R.R. Martin really knows what he's doing.
Thanks, George.
Yep. But anyway, they reach the city of Vaes Dothrak. It's sprawling, ancient, and empty, with many strange-looking buildings that don't match. As they walk through the great bazaar of the Western Market, Jorah tells Dany that the buildings were made by slaves brought here from different lands, and they would build after the fashion of their own peoples, which is why none of the buildings match. Everywhere seems deserted, and Jorah explains that only the crones of the Dosh Khaleen live permanently in the sacred city, along with their slaves and servants. Crone is not a nice word. Do they actually call them crones?
One of their 7 gods of Westeros is a crone.
This is not Westeros. The fuck?
They're using crones a lot. I think it's just old lady.
Yeah, but
It doesn't sound nice, though.
Horribly ugly, like...
Well, I can see that.
Oh my god. Vaes Dothrak is large enough to hold every man of every Khalasar, should all the Khals return to the Mother at once.
It's huge.
And the Mother is like the mountain. And this is something that the crones prophesize will come to pass one day. So, they come to a halt near the Eastern Market and a large feasting hall. They all have to give up their weapons at this point, including Khal Drogo. According to Jorah, it's forbidden to carry a blade in Vaes Dothrak, or to shed a free man's blood. This is what Varys was saying earlier, right? When they were debating
At the
how to
meeting.
kill Dany.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Renly was like, get Jorah to kill her. But then Varys was like, no,
Wait.
you can't have a sword. Like, what's he gonna do?
Strangle.
And that's when Varys is like, the tears of Lys!
Don't do that face.
The tears of Lys! Anyway, you've seen John Wick, right?
Nope.
You haven't seen John Wick?
No.
Well,
Movies
anyway.
are just so much commitment for me.
They are not commitment.
They're so long.
No, they're not! Books are long! Movies are short!
Yeah, but I can stop reading. I can read a chapter and then...
You can stop a movie anytime, but it's not the same.
No.
Anyway, for those who have seen John Wick, I was going to compare Vaes Dothrak to the Continental Hotel in John Wick.
Shit.
but you won't understand that reference. So, moving on. Kaholo, one of Drogo's blood riders, comes to Dany as she's being helped down from her silver, which, reminder, is her horse. They don't name them. She just calls it her silver. And then the narrator launches into a bit of an explanation about blood riders, which I find super interesting. You would think that when writing, you would explain the blood riders the first time they're mentioned, right?
Yeah.
But we've been talking about blood riders for like half this book.
I think she understands them now.
Yeah.
After being with Drogo for so long.
Yeah. But it is definitely like an interesting writing technique. George likes to establish these things as like a very solid piece of the world, and then he'll explain it later.
Yeah.
Like he makes the reader wait for the explanation.
I like that.
Yeah. So, the Blood Riders are more than guards. They are the Cal's brothers, his shadows, his fiercest friends. Drogo calls them blood of my blood. Ancient traditions demand that when the Cal dies, his Blood Riders die with him. In some Khalasars, the Blood Riders share the Cal's wine, tent, and even his wives. Dany is glad that Drogo doesn't hold to those ancient ways. She wouldn't like being shared. Ew.
Understandable.
Yeah. Dany likes Kaholo, but the others frighten her. But they are bound to her husband, so she must accept them. She finds herself wishing her father had been protected by such men. He had been murdered by one of his own Kingsguard, and another of his Kingsguard had gone over to the usurper's side. So she wonders if all men are false in the Seven Kingdoms. She decides that when her son has the Iron Throne, he will have his own Blood Riders to protect him against treachery. Wait. So if Viserys gets the throne, wouldn't it be his sons who take the throne after him?
Oh, shit.
So is Dany already planning around Viserys not obtaining the throne? See what I mean?
Yo, you're right.
She's conniving.
Yeah, she's gonna take it.
There you go. There's your conniving.
Dang.
Kaholo tells Dany that Drogo must ascend the Mother of Mountains tonight to sacrifice to the gods for his safe return. Return to where?
Base to Thrak. That's home.
Okay.
Home, back to the mother.
This is like a thank you?
I
You're
guess.
saying to sacrifice for his safe return?
Sacrifice to the mother for his safe return, I guess. As a thank you? I guess so.
Oh. Or is he thinking about, like, as a sacrifice, like when you go into Westeros, and then coming back after that?
I don't know, because I don't think he's quite planning that yet. He's
Yeah, I
too
wouldn't
much
think
thinking
he's-
about his own child.
Yeah, he's not thinking that far ahead. Okay. Dany welcomes the prospect of having a night of rest. She grows tired more easily as her pregnancy progresses, and Drogo's desire for her seems to have only grown since she got pregnant. So she's like, nice to not get fucked tonight. So she heads to her tent and has a scalding hot bath, and tells her slaves she will give Viserys his gifts tonight. She sends Doria to invite him to sup with her. And she sends Eyrie to go get food, anything but horseflesh. So she's being very considerate. She knows Viserys is not digging the horseflesh. So they make food and they set out the clothing Dany has had specially made for him. A tunic, a leather vest painted with dragons, leather sandals, and a bronze medallion belt. She thinks that if Viserys looks less like a beggar, the Dothraki will respect him more. Why is she still trying?
Right.
But when Viserys shows up, he's dragging Doria by the arm and is totally furious. Turns out Doria had said that Dany commanded him to join her for supper, which pissed Viserys off. Quote, "No one commands the dragon." Dany tries to explain that Doria misspoke. She was asking Viserys to join her if it pleases him. Then she shows him the gifts, and Viserys is not impressed. He calls them Dothraki rags and says that next Dany will want to braid his hair. Dany says that Viserys has no right to a braid as he's won no victories yet. Boom, bitch! Viserys is clearly infuriated by the comment, but dares not strike Dany, with her handmaids watching and the warriors standing outside. So Viserys picks up the clothing to inspect it and says it stinks of manure, and he shall use it as a horse blanket. Dany is hurt. She tells him she had it specially made for him, and that they are garments fit for a cow. Viserys says he is Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, not some grass-stained savage. He tells Dany she forgets herself, and he grabs her arm and digs his fingers into her painfully until she feels like a child again. This fucking guy. But she reaches out, grabs the belt she was going to gift him, and strikes Viserys full in the face. Fuck yes. Get that bitch.
Turn some flesh ripping into his skin.
Oh yeah. So there's like the medallions that are on the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Get him a bloody face.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so Viserys lets go, bleeding from the face. Dany tells him he's the one who forgets himself, and asks whether he learned anything from that day in the grass when she made him walk. Of course he didn't! Dany! I think it's pretty clear that he's not capable of self-reflection.
Nope.
God. She then tells him to get out before she has her Cass warriors?
I guess.
Drag him out. And she tells him to pray that Khal Drogo does not hear of this, or he will cut open Viserys' belly and feed him his own entrails. Damn! I want to see that.
Yeah.
Viserys tells Dany she will rue this day when he comes into his kingdom, and then he leaves. Alright, Viserys, we're all scared of you, Viserys.
Mm-hmm.
Supper is ready, but Dany isn't hungry anymore. She tells her handmaids to eat the food themselves and bring some to Ser Jorah. How thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
She then curls up with her green dragon's egg. She likes holding them. They make her feel strong and brave. As she's lying there, she feels the child move within her, as if he too is reaching out to the dragon egg. Brother to brother, blood to blood.
Ooh. Ooh.
Dany whispers to her child that she knows he is the real dragon, and she falls asleep smiling and thinking of home.
What's home?
The Seven Kingdoms, bitch! Alright, that's the end of that chapter.
Nice.
Nice!
Nice.
I love that she's standing up to Viserys.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, like, fuck that guy.
Get him out of here.
And she's clearly not cool with the idea of him on the throne now.
No.
So,
Absolutely. I think, didn't Jorah or someone ask her herself if she thought he would be a good king? And she was like,
yeah,
no.
she was like, hell nah.
I think that's changing her perspective a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely. So, their relationship is going to progress even further.
Nice.
But that's all we have for today.
Ooh.
So, Jess, I wanted to ask you, we're about halfway through the book at this point.
Nearly.
Very nearly halfway. So, I wanted to take a moment and ask you for overall thoughts on the writing, the storyline, characters, plot, what you're liking, what you're not liking, etc., etc.
Well, I love it. I love this book. I love this story. Like I've said before, that I just love hearing the storyline from different perspectives and having it slowly come together. And it's just I just love that style of writing. Having it slowly come together and you're like putting it together piece by piece yourself.
It's really working for this story. Like, I've worked on stories where I've tried the same thing, like, using different character perspectives, and so on, but it doesn't work for every story. Because sometimes a story, just belongs to one character.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like,
It's huge.
There's this, like, one massive plot that goes through the whole thing, but it, like, branches in 1,000 different directions, and those branches are like touching all these different characters, but it's all connected to the same main plot, which is what makes it so fascinating.
Man.
And I do not know how George R.R. Martin did it.
Right? This guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
Is there anything you're not liking so far?
Not liking.
Like maybe even a tiny single thing where you're like, that's weird, or like, that's not right. Not a single thing?
Well, like, the thing about reading books from different character perspectives is that you get characters that you love, and then characters you're like,
yeah,
God, not this guy again.
Eddard.
But, like, his tale is still relevant, even if it is kind of slow and boring sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's picking up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been very political and slow. And, But yeah, definitely picking up the action. Has your favorite character changed at all? The last time I asked you, you said it was Bran. We haven't seen Bran in a while.
Right? So I've forgotten him. Maybe it's changing. Yeah. I really like Dany.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's just killing it.
Sure is.
But also her, like, this is shocking for me. In the show, she doesn't really come across as, like, someone who seeks power.
Yeah.
At all. But I feel like in her chapters, her last few chapters, I can see her desire for power.
Yeah. She's seeing it as a right first.
Yeah.
And I like that. There's confidence, Dany. Despite Viserys.
It's clear where it comes from. She's, like, had no power her whole life. And now she's been given a taste of it by being a Khaleesi. And she wants more.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, this tastes pretty good. May I have some more? She's like, fuck you, Viserys. I'm gonna leave you in the dust, bitch.
I think later on, she'll start realizing that with this power, she can change things.
Yeah, she can make a
for
difference.
Better, good things.
Or worse.
Or worse.
Who knows? Well, I guess we should end it there, because I'm about to piss myself.
Holy moly.
I've been holding my pee since the start of this episode.
Dude, let me take a break. You just want to get out here.
Yep. All right. So, if you want more of the podcast, please follow us on Instagram. The podcast is Tigbab Podcast, Tigbab. You can also follow us individually. Mine is Crimby, and Jess's is Jess.Egan24. You can also find us on Facebook if you search Tigbab Podcast again, or just search Tea is Good, Books Are Better. You can find the page there. Please also check out our friend Baram Barami on YouTube. He made our jingle that you heard at the beginning of this episode, and he's super dope and deserves all the love in the world. So let's give him some. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to give us some extra support, you can check us out on there, patreon.com/teaisgoodbooksarbetter. We do have some cool tiers with different rewards, so you will get something in return for your contribution, but we do just appreciate you listening as well. Alright, thank you for listening. See you in the next one. Jess?
Adios.